Hey everybody, it's Julie Malillo. I'm a life coach here in Manhattan. My website is yourdreamslifecoach.com. So, it's just sitting here with my decaf coffee with stevia. I'm still on my cleanse diet, by the way, which I've done for over 7 months now. I'll make a separate video about that. But I was thinking about feeling stuck. Are you feeling stuck right now? This is a big problem. It's a really common problem. I would say a lot of people right now are feeling stuck, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're one of them. So, what do you do if you're feeling stuck? What I want to talk about right now is what's really going on, what's making you feel that way, and then what can you do about it really quickly. So, by the end of this video, you will have some tips of things you can do immediately to start to break you out of that cycle and to start to feel happier and good and inspired again, and like your actual self. So what happens when we feel stuck is we basically go into a depression because you lose the ability to see the possibilities of everything that could happen and your strengths and all the great things, and instead we get into a cycle of feeling like there aren't possibilities and like we just have to suck up whatever we have, and we just have to, I don't like it, but I guess I'll just have to put up with it. That's what feeling stuck is about. And then what happens every day, it just confirms this more and more for you, because you don't take any action because you feel like action is impossible, it's not going to help you, so you don't take any action. And the next day you wake up and you say, nothing changed, oh my gosh, I was right. It is impossible. There are no possibilities because, see, nothing changed. And the fact is, nothing changed because of the way you're seeing it, because you're in the stuck mentality, and that prevents you from taking action. Then you get more of the same. And this can go on for years and years. And the longer it goes on, the more stuck you get. Now, you can unstick yourself at any point in time, but it will feel more and more like the truth of your life, and this is just who I am. I'm just a stuck person, even though it's not who you are. It's really nothing to do with you and your potential and your amazing possibilities. It's just a pattern that you've gotten into that you can get out of. So something else that goes on with this is that there's often a lot of catch-22s or things that are contingent on other things. When you're feeling stuck, you might have some things in your life that make it feel impossible to change or to get somewhere else. So for example, you might say, well, until my kids are 18, there's really nothing I can do. I can't improve myself. I can't improve my life because my kids take up all my time. Or you might say, I don't like the job I'm in. It's draining. I'm stressed. So there's nothing I can do until I win the lottery. Or unless I win the lottery, oh well, until I retire. There's a lot of this until kind of thing. Or until I lose weight and I'm 50 pounds thinner, I really can't even do all these things. So the contingent things make you feel worse, and they make you feel like you can't do anything right now because there's something in your way. And that can just feel more and more depressing, right? And if you feel depressed, you don't want to take action, especially if you think it's impossible to get anywhere. So then you're depressed and you're just trying to make it through your day. And this is where a lot of people will just kind of give up, and they will go and get antidepressants. And I'm not saying some people don't need them, but there are some people taking them that are really just stuck and they don't know how to unstick themselves, and they don't really need the antidepressant. They just need a way to get unstuck so that they feel better. So what is the way out? You might want to go and get yourself a notepad to write this down, or just pull up a document on your computer as you're watching this and just take some notes, because I really want you to remember this so that you can put it into place right away. Now, the easiest way to get unstuck is to just hire a coach that's a good coach, because that's what we're trained to do, is to help you become unstuck. And we can make a map of your whole life and how it's working and what the factors are in great detail that are holding you back, and then what to do about it in a very detailed, specific way. But if you don't want to get coaching, I know there's a lot of reasons that people might be resistant to getting coaching, or I know I didn't even want to get a coach before I became a coach. The idea of that didn't feel good to me, so I understand that. So there's people out there watching who probably want to, do this for yourself. You don't want to hire someone. It's almost like when you don't want to call a plumber, you just want to fix the sink yourself. So just a note that what you do yourself, it's kind of like fixing your own sink because you're not trained to do this. It's going to take you a little longer. It's going to be a little bit messier. It might not work the first couple times you try it, but if you're determined, you can find a way to make it work. So if you're stuck and you don't want to get coaching because of all these things I mentioned, get out your notepad, and the first thing I want you to do is to write down what it is that you actually want. Like, what would make you feel better if you had it right now? If you just had a magic wand and you didn't have all these things in your way and limitations and catch-22s, what would make you feel amazing to have right now? Write that down. You can pause this too to write down your answers. Okay, so when you wrote that down, you probably felt good on one hand but bad on the other because it just makes you feel worse that, I don't have this and I want this so bad, right? So the next thing to do is to write down your limitations, your blocks, the things that are preventing you from having this amazing thing that you want. And I want you just to write as many things down as you can think of right now. Those can be things within yourself, like you might not feel confident enough. You might feel like you need to lose weight first. Your health might be in a bad place. You might not have knowledge of something that you need. You might not have enough training in something that you need to get better at before you can do something with it. You might not have skill. You might have had a lot of bad experiences with something. So the idea of doing it again just sounds like, it sounds awful. And then there's all the limitations and blocks outside in the world too. Like maybe the economy is bad for a career field that you really wish that you could get into, but it's just kind of not the right time for that career. Maybe, there's all kinds of things. Like maybe your insurance plan changed in a way and this is really affecting your health and you can't get like what you need from that insurance plan. So you have to do without things or, go without having your favorite doctor who helped you more, or maybe you have to find a different way to get what you need. Maybe it's not perfect. It could be all kinds of things. It could even be things like traffic. Maybe there's so much traffic on the highway. This is blocking you from getting to a class you need to take or a certification you need, so write down all of these blocks that you can possibly think of, any catch-22s, anything that's been there, maybe for a long time, maybe for a short time. It can be even something within your own personality. You might have a big problem with like procrastination, or you might beat yourself up a lot, or you might not have the skill you need to go out on dates and you don't really know how to carry yourself on a date. You might not have the knowledge to go and interview for the job that you want. You might not know how to do these things. So whatever the blocks are, just write them all down. You could also have, health issues, mental health issues. You might have a living situation issue. You might have a financial problem. There's a lot of things, and just to remind you, these are human things. We all have limitations. We all have blocks and problems, and every single person has their fair share, even if you don't know it. Because I work with people, I work with some really top people that you wouldn't think have problems, but we're all human. We all have problems. Okay, so now you know what you want. You know what your limitations and blocks are, and you have a list. The next thing you want to do is you want to look for ways around your limitations. Because what we normally do is we get really stuck. We think, what I really want that would make me happy is this, but I have this horrible, awful limitation, which is that. So now I just have to give up. That sucks. And then we get into this depression cycle. So instead, I want you to now think, what are the ways around this limitation or block? Which means, even though you have this problem, what are the things that you can do now anyway? What are the things you can do now anyway? And you'll see there's actually a lot of things that you can do, even though you thought there weren't any. When you look for that answer, you will find things and it will really surprise you. So And you can have some pretty serious problems too. Things that are really taking up time and taking up money, and they're just really serious. But when you look for what can you still do, even though you have that, you're going to find some amazing answers. So you're looking for ways around that block. And you can also, if there's a way to just get rid of a block or remove it, please do so. That will save you so much time. And that's another question to ask is, are there any obvious or simple answers of things you can do to eliminate problems that are standing in your way? So if, maybe you need to pick up your child after school, and because of that, you're not able to take some kind of course that you would need to take for your career, and years have gone by and you just haven't done it, well, maybe you can find some way to have someone else pick up your child from school on that day, and you can switch off with that person, and then you can go and take that class. I mean, some of the time the answers are pretty obvious, but because we haven't taken that time for ourselves to sit down and write down what's the problem, we don't get to the solution. And it's not because we're dumb or we're lazy, it's just because we haven't focused on ourselves to take the time to get to that solution. So if you have anything like that, look for your solutions of things you can do to eliminate blocks. And the blocks that you cannot eliminate because they're out of your control, it's out of your hands, look for ways around that, and look for, even though I have that problem, what can I still do anyway? Now you're going to have a list of things you can do anyway, which is really exciting, because what this means is it gives you a blueprint to get from here to there, to get from your blocked, limited place now to your dream, and you have a plan, even though you have limitations. So that's the cool thing. So now that you have your list of actions you can take, I want you to focus on starting really small. There's a temptation to just change your whole life and just get rid of everything. And if that feels right to you, by all means do it. But to the majority of people, it's going to feel scary and it's not going to feel right. So look for things you can do every day for between 15 minutes and 1 hour. And then dedicate this time to yourself. No matter how busy you are, no matter what demands are on you, you have 15 minutes to an hour every day. And it might be time you're sitting on the subway. It might be that hour you can't fall asleep anyway and are just sitting there in bed waiting to fall asleep. That's an hour that you have. You may as well use it to put your blueprint into place, to build your plan, and to actually take action towards it. So you can either spend that time masterminding your plan and sitting down and just getting all this stuff down on paper of what your actions you need to do, or you can actually start to take the actions in this time. And you're looking for just small changes, realistic things you can do now. And if you write something down, you realize, I'm not there yet, I can't do this yet, just back up, and keep that on your list, but put that on your list for okay, after I've gotten to this place, then I'll come back and do this. And then again, just focus on what you can do now. There's always a lot you can do now. So the small changes are a big thing, because another thing that goes on with feeling stuck, and this is really a big part of it, is, as bad and depressing as feeling stuck is, it's also stable, right? Because you're doing the same thing every day, and that gives you a sense of stability. It might be miserable, awful, horrible stability, but it's still giving you stability in that you know what to expect tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be horrible too, just like today. Isn't that great? That gives you a sense of continuity and keeping things stable and the same. And for most of us, keeping things stable and the same is a big, big human need that we have. So go ahead and keep things the same. That's fine. But then just add on top of that your 15 minutes to an hour a day. And then take your small actions and do things, even though you can't get to the whole thing yet, that's okay. Just focus on these pieces that you do have total control over. And then you're going to feel great, because you're going to feel like, wow, even though I have these limitations and problems, I can still do this, I can still do that. There's all these things I can still do. And then you're going to feel inspired, and you're going to begin to break through feeling stuck. You're going to unstick yourself by doing this. And it's not going to happen overnight, but probably the first time that you even write these things down, you're going to feel something lift and you're going to feel a sense of momentum because, oh, I was wrong. Things actually can move forward. Even though I have these limitations and problems and restrictions, there are things that I can do. There are things I have control over. And that's exciting. And you're going to start to see how powerful you are to change your life. So please do that. Write it down right now. And you can just rewatch this and pause it to write down your answers. You might want to keep coming back to it too and adding things on. When you're spending that 15 minutes to an hour a day, you might have new things come to mind that you want to add in. And I mean, it's really pretty amazing because you can start to see some big changes really pretty quickly. And you're going to build a new cycle. So before you were in the stuck cycle, and that was making you feel depressed. When you start doing this new process, you're going to start to notice that you're on a momentum, forward movement cycle. And every tiny little thing you do is going to just build that momentum more and more to the point that feeling stuck just becomes a memory of, oh yeah, I went through a hard time and I was kind of stuck once. And it won't really mean anything. It's not who you are as a person. It's just something that happens to everybody sometimes. So remember, moment to moment, you can change these things in very small ways. You don't have to go and reinvent everything. You can keep it to 15 minutes to an hour a day. And just those very small changes can bring you a lot of happiness. It can bring you a lot of what you want. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be this huge ordeal. It can actually be fun and light and interesting and something that you look forward to doing every day. So I hope that this really helps you to unstick yourself, and please do share this video if you know someone who's going through a hard time or they're feeling a little bit stuck, because it can help to just kind of understand why that's happening and that it happens to everybody. It's another thing, people that feel stuck sometimes feel very alone and feel like, oh, I'm the only person who's ever been stuck like this. And it's not true. It happens to everyone. Everyone has limitations and problems and things that are out of their control. But every person also has an enormous amount of things that are within your control. Huge, just infinite amounts of things that are in your control and that you are powerful to change. So give that a try. Like I said, my name is Julie Malillo. I'm a life coach here in Manhattan. My website is yourdreamslifecoach.com if you want to go and get rates to work with me. I do phone, Skype, in person. So even if you're in a different country or if you're in a different state or city, you can still work with me over phone or Skype. And even if you're in the city and you're just really busy, I've had clients that are in the city with me and I've never met them because just with their schedule and they're so busy. So you have a lot of options for coaching. And like I said, I know it can be hard sometimes to consider coaching, especially if you're a really independent person, if you're used to solving your problems on your own, which is the way that I am. So way back when, I remember hating the idea of getting my own coach because I could see that it could help me, but for one thing, I didn't want someone to tell me what to do. And I thought that a coach was going to come in and say, you're doing it wrong, you need to do it this way, which a good coach should never do that to you, by the way. If they're doing that, you shouldn't work with them because that's not even healthy. But also, it can also just feel kind of like embarrassing to go and tell someone all of your problems if you're someone who's pretty independent, and it can feel like you're almost just like whining about your problems, and it's not true. It's important. Everybody can use coaching, and your problems are important, even if they're small things. And sometimes we compare our problems to, okay, well, there's a war going on, and here I am worried that my routine isn't efficient enough. But it's important to remember that your problems are still important. If they're making you unhappy and affecting your life, they're important and they deserve attention. So I do understand reluctance to get coaching, and also I used to be concerned personally that, oh no, it costs money. And especially when I was considering, starting a business, I didn't want to spend money on anything because I was so trying to focus on putting money into starting a business. But investing in yourself is important. And like I said, sometimes it's just more efficient to call a plumber than to spend 3 weeks Googling how do I fix my sink and going to Home Depot and asking the guy, is this the part or is this the part? I mean, sometimes it's fun and satisfying to fix something on your own. If you want to get into plumbing anyway, that's cool. So if maybe you want to be a life coach someday, maybe you do want to learn all this stuff. But if you don't and you just want to focus on your life and getting what you want, it can be more efficient to just go and get a few sessions, just like get unstuck, get on the right track. And then you don't have to spend so much time, because it can take a long, long time if you're putting it off and not jumping in. So take that into account, and I just hope this works for you. And, let me know if you try it, what results you get, and if you have a moment of, oh, wow, this works, and I can get what I want. It's great. So thank you for watching, and give it a try, and have a good day.